Get this, a championship trophy won fair and square on the field, then just stolen in a boardroom. It's the bizarre story of the AFCON 2026 final. But this is so much more than a football scandal. Stick with me, because how this one event unraveled reveals a whole new way to analyze pretty much every news story you see.
All right, let's just dive right in. Our story kicks off with a simple, kind of unbelievable fact. A championship final that was played, celebrated, and then completely, totally overturned.
And that right there, that's the central mystery, isn't it? I mean, can you even imagine? You celebrate this incredible, historic victory, you're lifting the trophy, the whole thing, only to be told a few days later, nope, sorry, that never happened. How is that even possible? Well, answering that question takes us way beyond the football pitch.
Okay, so here's the quick and dirty timeline. On the field, Senegal beats Morocco, 1-0. Simple. They are the champions. But just a few days later, on March 17th, the Confederation of African Football, that's CAF, officially reverses the result. By March 20th, what started as a sports story has now exploded into a full-blown diplomatic crisis.
So, you're probably asking, how on earth did this happen? Well, this is where we shift gears from what happened to how it happened. And it all boils down to this fundamental conflict between what we all saw on the field and what was very deep in a rule book. And here is the core clash. On one side, you've got sporting merit. That's the simple truth of the game, right? Senegal won 1-0. But on the other side, you have regulatory rigidity. And that's the cold, hard power of administrative rules, which allowed a decision made in some boardroom to completely erase a result that was earned on the pitch. And here it is, the smoking gun. The whole reversal hangs on a breach of something called Article 84, a rule about operational continuity. Now, in plain English, that's just a rule meant to ensure the game runs smoothly, without any major interruptions. Sounds pretty boring, right? An obscure technical bit of language, but man, it was powerful enough to strip a team of its championship. So, what was the breach? It all came down to this one number, 17. The entire legal justification for using Article 84 was a 17-minute walk-off incident during the match. That tiny window of time, that was the legal loophole they needed to justify the whole thing. 17 minutes. That's all it took to change history. But here's the thing. A decision like this doesn't just happen in a vacuum. To really get why a tiny 17-minute delay was enough to flip an entire final, we've got to pull the camera way, way back from the stadium and look at the invisible forces at play on what we could call the geopolitical pitch.
Yeah, it turns out this wasn't just some stuffy regulatory issue. It was heavily influenced by some really powerful off-field dynamics. The whole match was basically taking place inside a pressure cooker, all thanks to the complex relationship between the host nation Morocco and the champions, Senegal. And this is a textbook example of something experts call geopolitical soft power. Think about it. It's when a nation uses something huge and cultural, like hosting a major football final, as a strategic tool. It's not about tanks and armies, it's about projecting influence, about achieving national goals on the world stage. The tournament literally becomes an instrument of foreign policy. And then, just to add another fascinating layer to this whole thing, you've got this idea of sovereign hardware. This is all about a country's control over its own technology. You see those state-of-the-art AI and VAR systems in the stadium? They weren't just there to help the ref. They were a statement, a symbol of national technological power and control. So, okay, let's recap. You've got the rules, you've got geopolitics, you've got technology, and they're all crashing into each other in this one event. Now, seeing all those layers, connecting those dots, well, it's not easy. It takes a really specific way of looking at the world. And that brings us to the real heart of this explainer, the unique angle that a new kind of analyst takes to break down a story just like this one. To really, truly understand this story, you have to try and see it through the eyes of what the source material calls a global operator. It's about making a shift from just being a passive consumer of news to an active analyst who's always looking for the hidden mechanics, the machinery behind the scenes. So you might be wondering, what exactly makes someone an operator? Where does this mindset even come from? Well, it's this really fascinating mix of like book smarts and street smarts. On one hand, you have the high-level academic knowledge from an international relations degree, but then you have the nitty-gritty real-world experience from working operations at a monster venue like Etihad Stadium. It's that fusion of theory and practice that creates such a powerful insight. And this all leads to their core method, what they'll call the operator pivot. It's basically a simple rule they applied to everything. Every single story, doesn't matter if it's about sports or finance, has to be analyzed through the tactical lens of either stadium security or international relations. It's all about finding the operational logic hiding just behind the headline.
Now, this way of thinking, this operator pivot, it isn't just a one-off trick for a single story. It's actually a single piece of a much, much bigger puzzle. We're about to see how this one analysis fits into a huge strategic media blueprint.
So that story about the stolen trophy, it wasn't just some random video. You have to think of it more like one pillar in a giant modern temple. It's part of this really carefully constructed media ecosystem, a system with 5 distinct pillars all designed to make sense of the massive shifts happening in our world right now.
And here they are, the 5 pillars. You've got System Neural, which decodes the future of hardware and AI. The Global Pitch, that's our turf, where this story came from, digs into the geopolitics of sports. Then there's IRAP Protocol, focused on sovereign security. Capital Clarity tracks how money moves around the globe. And finally, the Hidden Ledger even analyzes the mechanics of media itself. You see how it works? Each one is a different lens, but they all snap together to give you a much more complete picture.
So what's the end game here? What's the whole point of this 5-pillar empire? It's all captured in this one primary directive. The real mission isn't just to give you more information, it's to fundamentally shift your mindset, to move you, the audience, from being a passive consumer of information into an active strategist who can decode the world for yourself.
And all of this leaves us with one final question for you. This whole case of the stolen trophy shows us that every story has these hidden layers of rules, power, and strategy. So, knowing that, when you open up the news tomorrow, are you just going to see another headline, or are you going to look deeper? Or are you going to look for the operator's angle? At the end of the day, the choice is yours.